Ever been in a room where someone keeps trying to make you feel small? Maybe they cut you off mid-sentence. Maybe they throw subtle jabs, making you question yourself. They assume you'll shrink, that you'll explain yourself, that you'll chase their approval. But what if I told you that true power doesn't come from reacting? It comes from not reacting. Imagine standing in front of a lion. It growls, waiting for you to flinch. But what if you don't? What if you just stand there? Who really has the power now? Today, I'll show you exactly how to handle those who try to belittle you, without arguing, without proving, without lowering yourself. The last strategy pillar, that's the game changer. Let's dive in. Pillar 1. See through the illusion. People who belittle you are like magicians. They make you believe they have power over you, but it's an illusion. Let's break this down. Why do they do it? Because they need you to feel small, so they can feel big. They don't need to actually be better than you. They just need to convince you that they are. That's the trick. Now, once you see through this, what's the smartest move? Not to argue, not to react, but to observe. Imagine a chess game. The worst move you can make is reacting emotionally. The best move, seeing the game for what it is. So the next time someone tries to belittle you, ask yourself, are they actually powerful? Or are they just trying to look powerful? Once you see the illusion, it stops working. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In other words, the most powerful way to handle those who belittle you is to master your own response. Don't lower yourself to their level. Don't feed their negativity, and don't waste energy proving them wrong. Instead, recognize that their words are a projection of their own insecurities, not a reflection of your worth. True strength comes from controlling your mind, not reacting to theirs. Let me share a story. A man I know, let's call him Daniel. Daniel worked at a fast-growing company where he put in long hours and consistently delivered results. But no matter how well he performed, there was always one colleague, let's call him Ryan, who found a way to belittle him. If Daniel got recognition for his work, Ryan would smirk and say, "Let's see if you can keep this up." If Daniel suggested an idea in a meeting, Ryan would dismiss it with, "That's a nice thought, but we need something more serious." At first, Daniel took it personally. He started doubting himself, wondering if he really was as good as he thought. He considered working harder, just to prove Ryan wrong. But then, he had a realization. Ryan wasn't tearing him down because he was failing. Ryan was tearing him down because he was succeeding. So, Daniel made a decision. He stopped reacting. He didn't argue, didn't defend himself, and didn't try to gain Ryan's approval. Instead, he stayed focused on his work, his growth, and his own path. And over time, something interesting happened. Ryan's words lost their power. The moment Daniel stopped giving him the reaction he craved, Ryan lost control over him. So, what should you do when someone tries to make you feel small? First, recognize what's really happening. Their words are about their insecurity, not your value. Second, don't take the bait. Stay calm, stay unbothered, and don't let them drag you into their negativity. And finally, keep rising. The best response to those who try to bring you down is to keep moving forward, completely unaffected by their opinions. At the end of the day, someone else's insecurity is not your burden to carry. Let them wrestle with their own doubts while you focus on becoming stronger, wiser, and more unshakable than ever. Pillar 2. Master the power of stillness. Have you ever noticed how the loudest people are often the weakest? They rely on noise because silence makes them uncomfortable. When someone belittles you, their real goal isn't to prove a point. It's to trigger you. If you react, they win. If you stay still, they crumble. Here's how you do it. Pause. Before you respond, take a moment. That moment, that's power. Look at them, not their words. See the insecurity beneath their insult. Decide if it even deserves a response. Most of the time, it doesn't. Here's the truth. The moment they realize they can't get a reaction from you, that's the moment they start doubting themselves. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." In other words, it's not what people say that affects you, it's how you interpret it. If you see their words as insignificant, they lose their power. If you treat their criticism as meaningless, it becomes nothing more than background noise. Their opinion doesn't shape your reality, you do. Let me share a story. A man I know, let's call him Michael, had a coworker who constantly criticized him. No matter what Michael did, this person always had something negative to say. At first, Michael felt frustrated. He found himself replaying their words in his head, wondering why this person seemed so determined to bring him down. But then, he had a realization. Why was he letting them take up space in his mind? Why was he giving them control over his peace? That's when he decided to change his approach. Instead of reacting, he stayed calm. When his coworker made a sarcastic remark, Michael just smiled and carried on. When they unfairly criticized him, he didn't argue, he let his work speak for itself. And over time, something interesting happened. The person lost interest. Because the truth is, when you stop giving people the reaction they crave, they lose their ability to affect you. So, how do you handle situations like this? First, remind yourself that their words are just noise, they don't define you. Second, don't react emotionally. Stay composed. Stay in control. And finally, focus on what actually matters: your own path, your own growth, your own peace. At the end of the day, you decide how much weight someone else's words carry. Let them talk, let them try, but don't let them shake you. Your strength comes from within, and no one has the power to take that from you unless you allow it. If you found this valuable, hit like and subscribe for more powerful insights. Pillar 3. Flip their energy against them. In judo, you don't fight force with force. You redirect it. Same principle applies here. If someone tries to make you feel small, flip it on them. Let me share a story. A man I know, let's call him Matthew, was always the target of subtle jabs from a colleague, Mark. Mark had a habit of making snide remarks, always trying to undermine Matthew's confidence. One day, in a meeting, Matthew shared a new idea for improving workflow. Mark scoffed and said, "Wow, you really think you're that important?" Instead of getting defensive, Matthew simply smiled and replied, "I appreciate the confidence you have in me." His calm response threw Mark off. He expected irritation, not composure. Later, when Matthew proposed a creative solution to a recurring problem, Mark rolled his eyes. "That idea is ridiculous," he said. Matthew, unfazed, responded, "I love different perspectives. What's your suggestion?" Mark hesitated. He hadn't expected Daniel to turn the conversation back to him. Over time, Mark's comments became less frequent, and eventually, he stopped altogether. The lesson? People who try to belittle you are often looking for a reaction. But when you meet their negativity with poise and confidence, they lose their power over you. Instead of getting defensive, make them own their words. Put the pressure back on them. Because the moment they realize they're not in control of the conversation, they'll either retreat or reveal their true insecurity. You don't have to fight battles that aren't worth your time. Let them talk. Let them try. Let them waste their energy. Your response is your strength, and no one can take that away from you. Pillar 4. Redefine your inner circle. Now, let's be real. Some people are not worth your time. If someone repeatedly belittles you, ask yourself, why am I still giving them space in my life? You have limited energy. If you spend it on proving yourself to people who will never respect you, that's energy wasted. Instead, cut off unnecessary negativity. Spend time with people who lift you up. Become someone who no longer seeks external validation. Because the truth is, when you start valuing yourself, you'll naturally attract those who do too. Let me share a story. A woman I know, let's call her Sarah, was always trying to prove herself to her so-called friend, Lisa. No matter what Sarah achieved, Lisa would downplay it. "Oh, that's nice, but anyone could do that," she'd say. Or worse, she'd pretend not to hear Sarah at all. At first, Sarah brushed it off. She told herself Lisa was just joking, that maybe she was overreacting. But the more it happened, the more Sarah started questioning herself. Why did she keep trying to impress someone who clearly had no respect for her? One day, after sharing exciting news about a promotion, Lisa smirked and said, "Let's see if you can handle the pressure." That was the moment Sarah realized something. She wasn't in a friendship, she was in a one-sided competition, and she was the only one still playing. So, she made a choice. She stopped seeking Lisa's approval. She stopped sharing her wins with someone who only wanted to dim her light. Instead, she surrounded herself with people who celebrated her, not tolerated her. And something amazing happened. Her confidence grew. She no longer needed validation from those who refused to give it. Because the truth is, when you start valuing yourself, the right people naturally gravitate toward you. Epictetus once said, "The key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best." In other words, if someone constantly belittles you, they don't deserve a seat at your table. True strength isn't in proving your worth to the wrong people. It's in walking away from those who refuse to see it. Pillar 5. The final shift. Here's the real secret. The moment you stop caring about how they see you is the moment you become untouchable. Not because you fought them, not because you proved them wrong, but because you don't need their approval anymore. And that's real power. Let me tell you about Gabriel. Gabriel was always the guy who wanted to be liked. At work, he went out of his way to impress his colleagues. He laughed at their jokes, even when they weren't funny. He stayed late just to prove he was dedicated. He even changed his opinions just to fit in. But no matter what he did, there was always someone who looked down on him. Someone who dismissed his ideas, questioned his abilities, or made subtle jabs at him in meetings. And every time, Gabriel felt the sting. He wondered, what am I doing wrong? Why don't they respect me? Then, one day, it hit him. He was living for their approval. And in doing so, he was giving them control over his confidence. So, he stopped. He stopped explaining himself. He stopped trying to prove his worth. He stopped seeking validation from people who had no real say in his success. And something interesting happened. The comments didn't stop, but they no longer affected him. The dismissive glances, meaningless. The subtle jabs, just noise. Because the moment he stopped caring about how they saw him was the moment he became untouchable. Not because he fought them, not because he proved them wrong, but because he didn't need their approval anymore. If you allow their words to take root, you hand them power they don't deserve. Stand unwavering in your self-respect, and no one can shake you. Here's the truth, people can say whatever they want, but their words only hold weight if you let them. If someone calls you unworthy, does that change your abilities? Number. If they question your potential, does that erase your progress? Absolutely not. Their opinions are empty until you give them meaning. This is why self-respect is everything. When you truly know your worth, outside voices fade into mere background noise. As Marcus Aurelius said, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. In other words, your value isn't dictated by others, it's shaped by what you believe about yourself. If you are striving for something meaningful, if you are relentlessly becoming your best self, then no opinion, no insult, no doubt can diminish that. Your worth is not a debate, it's a decision you make every day. Let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them try. Just don't let them shake you. If this resonated with you, drop a comment below. Thank God. It tells me you're the kind of person who values growth and resilience. Your support fuels this journey, and together, we'll keep sharpening our minds, mastering our emotions, and rising above the noise. And if you want more content on how to build an unshakable mindset, subscribe. See you in the next one.